Hi everyone, today I just want to talk about motivation, and I think motivation is something we all need to keep going. I think when I ended up quitting alcohol, it must have been the thousandth time I had said, this is the time. And it's one of those things where I have no idea why, the 55th time of saying something to yourself works compared to the last time, the 54th time. Why, is this just are you just at your wit's end? Are you just at a rock bottom? But what is that rock bottom? Because I don't really think I hit a rock bottom at all. It was just maybe a culmination of loads of stuff. Maybe for some people they've hit a rock bottom, falling out with a friend, family member, did something stupid, lost loads of money at the casino, drunk, whatever it is. But, I think for a lot of us it's just, for some reason, that bucket of water of just annoyance and hate about yourself, I think it's just reached the top and it's begun to overspill. And now you're at that stage where you feel that you're just done with it. And the first thing I always suggest to people to do is to just write down the reasons why you want to quit, and those reasons are, feeling awful, getting nowhere in my career, never saving, spending too much money, if you fall out with friends or family, write that down as well. Just all these things, and try and aim for a good 10, 15 things. That's what you want to aim at. And then, of course, write down the benefits. Like, say, just on a notepad, OneNote on your laptop, your notes on your phone, just a piece of paper, whatever it is, and just write down all the reasons, kind of why you want the positives for doing it. So no longer write down the kind of bad brain fog, lack of energy. Write down, better sleep. So all these motivating things: better sleep, saving X amount a month because you're not spending any money, no brain fog, completing courses, doing well at work, sleeping well, not waking up at 2 in the morning sweating buckets because you're so hungover and ill with anxiety, And I think, like I say, just keep those things close to you, because I think just seeing things with our own eyes and reminding ourselves about kind of how bad it was, because alcohol's a drug. I think we're all in that position when somebody says to you alcohol, for that split second you're thinking about, meeting your mates on a Sunday, the first day of a holiday, or first pint at the airport, first pint on a Friday night after a long week at work, how great it is. But that's 1% of it, and we know it's crap. And that's what drugs do, they just hone in on these minor areas that were actually good, but you're not thinking about the 99% of other times. The second thing I think you should do is just sit down in a kind of quiet room, and I know this sounds a bit cheesy, but just imagine what you're going to be like a year down the line. Remember, at this point you've not drunk for 365 days, 66 with a leap year, of course. You've been smashing it, there's been no booze, it's a year down, and just imagine in your head what you're going to be like. Remember, at this point, everyone at your work, your friends, your family know that you're a non-drinker now. You're now this reliable person. You've probably paid off your car loan, for example, maybe paid off a big chunk of your mortgage, put away money in the bank in your savings account. Maybe you've been on 2 or 3 dream holidays that you could never afford before. Maybe you've patched up relationships, maybe you've lost weight, maybe you're super fit. So just take that couple of minutes to sit there with your kind of reasons why you're stopping, and just kind of, like I said, just imagine the you that you want to be, because it's all there. I mean, I think one of my biggest frustrations and motivations for quitting was I knew I could have been better. I knew I could have been this good version of myself, and I wasn't, because I'd quit for 5 years before, between 2017 and 2022. I thought I could moderate, failed as always, and then I quit again this year for good. And it's just been an absolute game changer. I'm at that stage where I'm feeling like I'm the person I could be, and that's the person that you could be. So just, like I say, sit down, think about it, write down all the reasons, and you'll get there. And the last thing I would say is just, I always say it, is just don't beat yourself up, because it's hard to get motivated when you're beating yourself down. I said I would do this 5 years ago. I had a friend, I kept meeting up with him, and he wanted to be a pilot. And it was kind of like a friend. We lived abroad and we'd catch up, and every time I met him, he would always say, "Oh, I want to be a pilot, but I'm never getting it done." And I remember thinking after 5, 6 years and 8 years of him saying it, you could have got this done, but then that kind of, you could have already been a pilot, you could already had a few years under your belt flying. But I always kept saying to him, like, just start today. There's that great saying, the best time was, X amount of years ago, but the next best time is now. And I know those quotes kind of come across cheesy, but it's true. And like I say, that's why I say to sit down and actually imagine yourself in that position, because in 1 year today, 5 years today, you could be that person, with your own business, flying at work, complete, 180 in your career. I mean, I set up this YouTube channel, which would have never, ever have happened if I was still drinking. Never, ever. So, I mean, I hope that's kind of a bit of motivation. It's not my, I don't think motivation coach is one of my strong points at the moment, but, hopefully I'm giving some people inspiration out there to quit, because if I can do it, and the, thousands and thousands of people you see on YouTube with much kind of worse kind of habits than maybe what I had and what you have at home, it's just there for the taking, and, it's just a second chance at life. It really is. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you liked it. I've got loads of other videos. I think I'm up to about 75 now, that if you want to watch, and I'm releasing daily videos as well at the moment when I've got the time. So yeah, hopefully have a lovely day, and take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.